Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi. Menachos Daf Nun Ches. We begin on Nun Zayin Amud Beis, 8 lines from the bottom. Itma we have learned. Hamala mikulam al gabi hakevesh. This connects to yesterday, where we learned that any carbon material which had contributed to the Mizbeach, for instance, you have a mincha from which a kaimetz had been separated and placed on the Mizbeach. The leftovers, the shirayim, may not be placed on the Mizbeach. There's no room for leftovers on the Mizbeach, right? What if he places it on the kevesh, on the ramp, leading up to the Mizbeach? Itmar hamale mikulam. If one takes any of those leftover materials and brings them up al gabi hakevesh onto the ramp, Rabbi Yechon Amar chayiv, he's liable. He gets malchus because the ramp and the Mizbeach are the same entity. Rabbi Elazar Amar no, pater. In this case, he's not chayiv. Why? Rabbi Yechon Amar chayiv. Why does he say chayiv? The sign you have a brayso. Mizbeach. The pasuk says all these things don't belong on the Mizbeach. Ainli el Mizbeach, perhaps only the Mizbeach itself, on the top. Kevesh minayin. What about the ramp leading up to the Mizbeach? Talmud Lemar. Take a look at the pasuk again, where it says Ve'el ha-Mizbeach layalu. That lashon covers the kevesh as well. One of the Rishonim explains that the source here is because it says Ve'el ha-Mizbeach layalu, which is entirely extra. It already says previously, Isha lo taktiru, don't burn it as a carbon, don't offer it as a carbon. Why does it have to add? Well, don't place it on the Mizbeach. Apparently, it's coming to add the kevesh as well. Others learn that we learned from the extra hey Ve'el ha-Mizbeach layalu. Okay, in any case, there's some extra reference here to cover the kevesh as well. Hence, Rabbi Yechon holds placement on the kevesh triggers chiyuv. Rabbi Elazar Amar pater. According to Rabbi Elazar, placing it on the kevesh is not the same as the Mizbeach. He's pater my time and why? Damakra, the pasuk says, because although we just had an indication in the pasuk that even the kevesh is included, says Rabbi Elazar, yeah, that's regarding sa'ir and dvash. You see, we have two separate prohibitions. One cannot place sa'ir and dvash on the Mizbeach, leavened material, right, like chametz, or sweetened material like fruit products, honey, etc. And then we have the previous discussion regarding leftovers. Says Rabbi Elazar, regarding what does the Torah consider the kevesh like Mizbeach? Only regarding the other category. My time damakro sa'ir dvash karba reishis takrivu oisam. Pasuk says sa'ir and dvash typically they don't belong on the Mizbeach. There are exceptions. There's one exception per item. So by the sa'ir, we know that we bring the shtei alechem on Shavuos. That's the karba reishis, the first offering of and then we have the dvash, which as well is offered as bikurim, right, the first fruit. Those are two exceptions to the rule. So the pasuk says, "Sar dvash." Typically, it doesn't belong to the Mizbeach. Karban reishis takrivu oisam, only if it's the first offering, like we explained. And the word oisam is coming to stress that oisam hu derabi loch kevesh k'Mizbeach. So the pasuk reads, "Karban reishis takrivu oisam lashem ve'el ha-Mizbeach layalu." Rech nechayach ve'el ha-Mizbeach was the source that the kevesh is included. Says Rabbi Elazar, with respect to what is the kevesh included? Only with respect to karban reishis takrivu oisam, the sar and the dvash prohibition. Oisam regarding these items, who the rabbi loch kevesh k'Mizbeach, and consider the kevesh like Mizbeach, aval midir achrin aloy. Regarding the other category of prohibited materials, the shirayim material, leftover materials, regarding those, I do not consider kevesh like the mizbeach. On the mizbeach is chayiv, but otherwise not. No, Rabbi Yechon hay oisam hayavli. What does Rabbi Yechon do with the oisam? The Sanya, it's coming for a different point. So we know that the tzibur, the community as a whole, will bring the shtei alechem, right, on Shavuos. The question is, can a person just decide one day to privately donate this type of offering as well? If it's allowed for them, why not for me? Look at this on Yachal Yachad Misnadiv. Perhaps a person can't commit himself, can pledge to donate, a pair of breads which are chametz as an offering. And in this case, by the way, you'll have to do kmitza. It's going to be like a mincha. You'll have to take a piece off, put it on the mizbeach, and the rest will be eaten. So, is there such an arrangement? Can a person commit himself to this type of offering? And perhaps the answer would be yes, because v'karani ban apply to this case. The pasuk of moitzes v'secha tishmara seisa. Pasuk says, listen, you got to follow through on your pledge. Is that so? Talmud Leimar? No. Pasuk in describing the process of the Shtei Alechem says, Korban Reishis Takrivu, you as a tzibur, as a public entity, tzibur matilecha, only a tzibur brings these breads. V'lo yachad, not a private person. Okay, that settles that. But here comes another interesting suggestion. Perhaps the tzibur can decide to donate 2 breads in the middle of the Tu B'Shvat, right? To celebrate a different day of Yachad lo yehei yachad, maybe. I understand that a private person cannot offer 2 breads because you never find that a yachad brings this type at all. He's not obligated to bring shtei alechem, so perhaps he's not in the realm of the shtei alechem. She'ena maybe chavasa geitzabah, because he never is required. He's not obligated to bring this type of carbon. So he's not obligated, and he can't really volunteer either. Maybe perhaps a tzibur community can decide to just voluntarily offer 2 breads. Since we already find that they have that type of offering as an obligatory one, maybe because the tzibur will bring in similar fashion as a chayva, the shtei alechem ashvuos, Talmud Leimar oisam. Pasuk says no. Kara reishis takrivu oisam. Only these, in this context, in this circumstance. So, the Shtei Alechem, you bring on Shavuos, and that's it. It's a one-time event. And, the Bikurim, the person brings, as a first offering, that's it. There's no other allowances. So, ultimately, what are they allowed to bring? Shtei Alechem and Asa'ir, the 2 breads on Shavuos made of chametz material, and the ubikurim and advash, and the first fruits, bikurim, consisting of the sweet, fruit. That's it. Really, says the Gemara, you mean that the tzibur could not just voluntarily offer 2 breads in the middle of nowhere? The dava? Is that true? Tani, listen to this brayso where it seems that the tzibur can one day decide to offer 2 breads as an offering, Vatanya. So this brayso is going to refer back to that pasuk of ki chol sa'ar v'chol dvash. So any sa'ar, any dvash is not meant to be offered as a carbon. The term kol, of course, is coming to cover, to include something. And as we're going to see later, it's coming to include even a half portion, half a kazayas, half a kaimitz. Even a small amount, a small portion of sa'ar and dvash don't belong in the mizbeach. And the question is, why does the Torah have to repeat itself? Kol sa'ar, a small portion of sa'ar, is out, and then kol dvash, a small portion of dvash. Just say it by one, and we'll logically extend it and apply it to the other as well. Tanya. And the answer will be because they're dissimilar, you can't compare them, each one has an element that the other one doesn't have, right? So let's see. Vatani, im nemar kol sa'ar. Once the pasuk says kol sa'ar, to outlaw, to disallow even a small portion of Sa'ar on the Mizbeach, why repeat the same Lashon by Dvash? And vice versa. If you remember called Dvash, once it says called Dvash, did this allow a small amount of Dvash? Why repeat the same by the Sa'ar? Loma never called Sa'ar. The answer is because they're not really similar. You can't really learn one from the other. Mipnei, it's because Sheyesh b'Sa'ar, Mash'em b'Dvash. You find an element by Sa'ar unfound by Dvash, and vice versa. Yesh b'Dvash, Mash'em b'Sa'ar. Example is Sa'ar hutar mechlala b'migdash. Sa'ar hutar mechlala b'migdash, right? Dvash lo hutar mechlala b'migdash. So if the Torah would only prohibit a half a portion of Dvash, I would say, yeah, Dvash is more strict than Sa'ar. We never find hutar mechlala. Hutar mechlala means there are no exceptions to the rule. Dvash is off limits. You don't offer fruits. You don't bring sweets in any case. Even bikurim, it's not really a mizbeach offering. It's not burned on the mizbeach. Ultimately, it's a gift to the kohen, so it's not considered hutar mechlala. As opposed to Sa'ar, which does lend to exception. Why? Because the shtei alechem are Sa'ar and are mutar as an offering. So because of this apparent leniency that we find by Sa'ar, unfound in Dvash, you can't compare Sa'ar and give it the same strictness as Dvash, and vice versa. You wouldn't be able to compare Dvash to Sa'ar. The Torah would disallow a small portion of Sa'ar. I wouldn't say the same by Dvash, because Dvash hutar b'shar Menachos. Sa'ar lo hutar b'shar Menachos. In contrast to Sa'ar, where the Isser applies even to Shiyar Menachos, even the leftover portion that goes to the Kohen may not be turned into Sa'ar into Chametz. But Dvash, be my guest, you can take the Shirayim and the Menachos, mix it with honey, enjoy yourself. There's no Isser against that. So Dvash, in a way, has a leniency. So it's not really a good shidduch. You can't compare one to the other. So in conclusion, right? We just discovered an element in Sa'ar that's not found by Dvash, and vice versa. And therefore, that necessitated the repetition in the pasuk. Call Sa'ar to disallow even a half portion of Sa'ar on the Mizbeach, and the same with Dvash. Now let's go back and analyze what we just said. Sa'ar has exceptions to the rule. Sa'ar duhuta mechlala b'migdash ma'aniu. Where do we find that there's an exception to the rule? Sort of allowing Sa'ar on the Mizbeach? Now, it cannot be that we're talking about the standard offering of shtei alechem shvois, because there's nothing actually going on in the Mizbeach. You bring the breads with the sheep, right? You do the tenufa, you shech the sheep go on the Mizbeach with the breads, straight to the kohen. Mind you, so what are we talking about? In this reference of exception to the rule. Lav shtei alechem dekarver nedava. Apparently we're speaking about two breads that were offered as a voluntary offering. In which case, as we explained before, based on Rashi, that here it goes through a different system. It's like a mincha, where a portion of it has to be burnt on the Mizbeach. And that's what the Brisa meant, that Sa'ar has an allowance, allows for exceptions. So you see from this discussion, that the community, if they choose to, they can simply donate two breads. And we'll know it. In contrast to what we said before, that they can't. No, of course they can't. And actually, we're talking about the standard two breads on Shavuos. As per your question, well, there's nothing of it on the Mizbeach. The Karavim, though the breads themselves don't contribute to the Mizbeach, but they contribute part of their package, there's an element within this broader package. Because remember, the two breads come with the two sheep. So in the sheep aspect, that goes in a Mizbeach. There's a Mizbeach part in this general package, and therefore, it makes sense to consider the Sa'ar as something which has exception. Because within the Sa'ar package, i.e. the sheep that come along, there is a portion on the Mizbeach. Yachid Bikurim Nami. So why is that specific to Sa'ar? Bikurim also has a lens to exception, even though the fruits don't go on the Mizbeach, but there's an element, a component within the Bikurim package that does. This now we learned that they come with birds. They would bring these little birds together with the baskets, and they would be offered as an oila. And the baskets given to the Kohanim. So the bird element within this package is put on the Mizbeach. So apparently, Bikurim, sweets, fruits also have allowances for the Mizbeach. The answer is no. It's not really one integral package. Hanu la'ater Bikurim u'da'asu. There's no real requirement to bring birds with Bikurim. It's just meant to beautify. La'ater Bikurim, it's coming to beautify, to enhance the gift, the offering. It's not really inherently one with the fruit. And therefore, in terms of the fruit itself, which is sort of an independent offering, there's nothing of it on the Mizbeach. And that's what the Brisa meant, that in contrast to Su'ur, where part of it is on the Mizbeach, because the bread sort of contribute part of their package, i.e. the sheep, to the Mizbeach, the Bikurim doesn't have that element. Okay, so in conclusion, once a year do they bring the Shtei Alechem as a public offering, as an obligatory public offering, but one may not just offer on his own, and the tzibur as well. Bayiram Barcham. Merav Chiz, I have another question. So, any leftover materials, like the flesh of a chatas behema, an animal chatas whose fats are put on the mizbeach, so the animal sort of contributed to the mizbeach, so anything left behind, the flesh cannot be put on the mizbeach. That's leftovers. What about a chatas bird, which has no fats on the mizbeach? So technically, it didn't really contribute anything to the mizbeach as a hakrava. What's the status of the leftover meat, the bird meat? Is that also covered by the Isser of placement on the Mizbeach or not? What's the status if a person takes the basar of a bird chatas on the Mizbeach? Shall we say, Kol shemimenu le'ishim, pasuk refers to fire, amar Rachmana, v'hayemimenu le'ishim, only something which contributed to the fire, which didn't. Or you can say, Kol sheshmai karban. That even though it didn't really technically offer anything to the fire, but the next pasuk there refers to carbon, as carbon ratios. Perhaps to tell us that this isra of offering leftovers applies to anything which is labeled as carbon. Any carbon leftovers, including a chatas, bird chatas. Right? Carbon, anything which is labeled as a carbon, which covers this too. Vaynamish my carbon, and the chatas oif is also called a carbon. Amalei, he says, yeah, right on. Kol sheshmai carbon, vaynamish my carbon, who take the latter approach, which applies to chatas oif as well. Katanoi, actually, it's a machlekes tanoim. This prohibition, this leftover prohibition, applies to only those which contributed to the fire itself. Rav Lezer Omer, Kol shemenu le'ishim. Rav Kiva Omer, it covers any carbon material which is deemed leftovers. What's the difference? A bird. What we just said. So the basar chatas bird, it's not fire related. There's no isra. It is. Rav Amar, another difference would be the leftovers of the oil that a mitzvah brings. It brings a lug, like a liter of oil. Part of it is sprayed, part of it is right. Nothing actually goes on the mizbeach. What happens to the leftovers there? According to Rabbi Lezer, it would be mutter on the mizbeach. According to Rabbi Kiva, asr. B'tani Levi. It's also because, as Levi tells us, kol karbanim. This is a pasuk there in Bamidbar, listing all the gifts to the koyanim, and it mentions the word kol karbanim. L'rabbis lug shemen shel mitzvah, talking about the lug shemen of mitzvah, which is called a carbon, and whose leftovers is given to the kohanim. So we see that the term carbon applies here as well. Therefore, the leftovers would be prohibited from the mizbeach. Tana Rabbanan. Okay, now back to that pasuk that we referred to earlier. Kol sa'ar, kol. That inclusionary term is coming to cover even a half portion of sa'ar must be kept off the mizbeach. Kol damash, even a half portion. Now we're going to go into that. Tana Rabbanan. Had the pasuk just said so'er bal taktiru, so'er like taktiru, and they look kulei, so that would say the full portion can't be put in the mizbeach. What about part of it? Tamalema kol says even a small portion. What if it's mixed with something else? Iruba minayin tamalema ki koil. So so'er means so'er full amount intact. Kol so'er even a half portion. Ki kol sar, even mixed with something else. Mike Omar, what exactly did the Tana mean? Let's define what he meant. Omar Bayach Kamar Brisa means like this: Had the pasuk only said So'er Bal Taktiru, Ein Ela Kazayas, that refers to full kazayas, which is the full amount of the kaimets. What about half a zayas? Tamalema kol, that covers even half. What if it's mixed in with other materials? Tamalema comes the pasuk and adds that as well, kikol. So according to Abai, the point is not just a full kazayas, even half. Rava Amar, he has a little bit of a different twist. Tachik Amar, the Brisa means like this: So'er Bal Taktiru alone would tell us Ein Ela kaimets, a full kaimetz, a full portion. What about half a kaimetz? Tamalema kol, even half. What about if it's mixed with other materials? Now, they both sound like they're saying the same thing. But what's the machlokes Abai and Rava? So Abai covers even half a zayis, and Rava doesn't seem to cover that. He says, well, a half a kaimetz, but not if it's less than a kazayis. So really, it depends on how big the kaimetz was to begin with, because the pasuk is clearly making reference to part of the portion. So here it goes. To begin with, a kaimetz can be less than 2 zaysim on volume. It could be even a zayis. Hence, when the Torah says even part of that, it means even part of a zayis. And Torah is teaching us that you can have a haktorah, even less than a kazayis, a material constitutes an act of haktorah, and if it's so'er, it's trouble. Rav Amar, he goes, no. The starting point here is that a kaimetz must comprise 2 zaysim. So even if we prohibit less than a kaimetz, but it's not going to be less than a kazayis. Rav Amar, ein kaimetz pachas mishnei zaysim. His opinion is that a kaimetz is meant to contain no less than 2 zaysim. So the starting point is 2. So although the Torah comes and says, well, even part means, but still, at least, a kazayis. Ve'en aktorah pachas mikazayis. You can't have aktorah less than a kazayis. Okay, so the Torah, which prohibits even part, according to Abai, even part of a zayis, according to Rava, has to be at least a zayis, but even if it's less than a full kaimetz, but it has to be a zayis. Okay, so we just learned there's a lav against offering so'er, against offering dvash, whether it's fruit or honey. Likewise, if there's a mixture, it's also asur. Itmar, listen to this case. Hamalim is so'er midvash al gam mizbeach. A fellow takes so'er and mixes it with honey. So now he has so'er, he has dvash, each one has its own independent, isur, but then it's mixed with each other as well, which, as we learned, also carries liability. So how many times does he get hit for this? Amar Rava loika mishum so'er, he gets 4 malchus, 4 sets of malchus. He gets malchus because it's so'er. V'loika mishum dvash, he gets malchus because it's dvash. So even though they're mixed with each other, Tosfos explains there's no bit. Chidusha of Lezer Moshe Horowitz explains that there's no bittul because it's carbon materials. They're not mevatel each other. So even though they're mixed up, we view them as though they're separate. So there's a separate liability for the so'er element in this mix. V'loika mishum dvash, and then 2 more malchias because it's a mixed so'er and a mixed dvash. Like it mishum meruvei so'er because it's a mixed so'er. Mishum gets another malchus mishum meruvei dvash because it's a mixed dvash. A total of 4 malchus. Abai Amar no. Abai disagrees. I understand that he gets a malchus because it's so'er. I understand he gets because of dvash. Okay, the Torah warns: don't put so'er, don't put dvash. Each one is sort of identified as a separate violation. But in terms of the mixture, which is learned from ki, right? Ki kol so'er. So it's basically one pasuk, right? The word ki is only said once in the pasuk. Again, we learn that when it's mixed, iruv is chaya. From where? From ki. Now, if you look at the pasuk, it only says it once. It says ki, kol so'er v'chol dvash. So it identifies so'er as separate and dvash as separate. But in terms of the liability for offering a mixture, it only says once ki, and that ki covers whether the so'er is mixed or the dvash is mixed. It's referring to both forbidden materials in their mixed forms. It says Abai at most you can only give him 1 malchus. Abai Yomar ain't like an alav shebeklos, you don't get malchus for a lav which is a general lav, which is not defined. So you have one live which refers to several variations. You can't get malchus for that. Now, what did Abaye mean? You don't get malchus at all for the mixture aspect? Or you just mean to say you can't get twice. There's no double jeopardy here. That's what he meant to say. Because after all, it's just one lav. Mixture is asr. So whether you have mixture of sa'ar, mixture of vash together, it's just one isr. So two ways to learn. Some learn chadam yalak. Of course, he gets one malchus for the mixture. So it gets a total of 3 malchus. One for sa'ar, because that's identified separate from the vash and the pasuk. One for the vash, and then one for the fact that it's a mixture. Some say, no, you don't get malchus at all for the mixture aspect, because it's an undefined lav. Because since it refers to both materials, it's lacking in definition, and there's no malchus from it. You don't get malchus for the mixture aspect, because it doesn't really conform. It's not a defined lav. Klav the chasima, as the lav that we find by chasima, which sets the tone, sets the standards for malchus upon violating a lav. Lav the chasima is where the fellow muzzled his animal while threshing with it, on which the Torah says he gets malchus. So that's sort of the precedent, that's the model which we're meant to follow to give malchus. If your lav conforms to that lav, which is a very defined lav, don't muzzle the animal, and if you do, you get malchus. So likewise, a similar lav, which has that property, would be chayv malchus, but not in this case where the lav sort of covers 2 scenarios at once. Any mixture of sa'ar, mixture of dva, that's an undefined lav, there's no malchus for that. Okay, let's recap today's daf. Forbidden materials on the kevesh. Rabbi Yechon says chayv, Rabbi Lezer says only by the sa'ar and dvash. Shtei Alechem is a one-time event, there's no donating it throughout the year, not by way of the public or privately. Chatas oif on the mizbeach is a machlokes, and the sa'ar and dvash would be chayiv even part. What constitutes part? We have a shayla by verova, less than a kazayis, less than a kaimetz, but still has to be a kazayis. And we discussed the possibility of multiple malchias for a fellow who's mala sa'ar and dvash on the mizbeach together. All the best to an atzlocha rabbah.